The secret to recognizing dangerous people, Jung explains. Carl Jung spent decades studying the darkest corners of the human psyche. Through his work with patients, criminals, and even Nazi perpetrators, he discovered something chilling. The most dangerous people aren't always the ones who look threatening. They're often the ones who seem most charming, most helpful, most normal. Jung's insights into dangerous personalities came from a disturbing realization. The capacity for evil exists in everyone. But some people have learned to weaponize their psychological understanding, to manipulate others, to hide their true nature behind masks of respectability and charm. Understanding Jung's framework isn't just academic curiosity, it's essential survival knowledge. Because dangerous people are everywhere, in boardrooms and bedrooms, in churches and schools, behind friendly smiles and helpful gestures. They've learned to exploit our basic human need to trust and connect. The secret Jung discovered isn't about obvious red flags. Anyone can spot an openly aggressive person. It's about recognizing the subtle signs of someone who has lost touch with their humanity. Someone who sees other people as objects to be used rather than beings to be respected. This knowledge can protect you from manipulation, exploitation, and psychological damage. It can help you recognize when someone is wearing a mask and what that mask is hiding. The persona, the mask we all wear. Jung understood that everyone wears masks, what he called the persona. This is the face we show to the world, our social identity, the role we play in different situations. A healthy persona is flexible. It changes based on context, but it remains connected to the authentic self underneath. You might be professional at work, playful with friends, nurturing with family, but there's still a core you that remains consistent. When the persona becomes everything, dangerous people have a different relationship with their persona. They've often lost touch with any authentic self underneath the mask, or their authentic self is so damaged, so filled with rage and emptiness, that they've learned to hide it completely. Signs of persona overdevelopment. They seem too perfect for the situation, always saying exactly what others want to hear. Their personality changes dramatically in different contexts, not just adjusting, but becoming completely different people. They have stories that don't add up, details that change, gaps that can't be explained. They seem to be performing rather than being genuine, even in private moments. They become angry or defensive when asked about their past or their feelings. The chameleon effect. Jung noticed that dangerous people are often psychological chameleons. They study others carefully, learn what makes them tick, then mirror those traits back to create instant connection and trust. This isn't the natural mirroring that happens in healthy relationships. This is calculated, strategic, designed to create a specific response in the target. They become exactly who you need them to be. The perfect friend, the ideal partner, the trustworthy colleague. But it's all performance. Underneath is emptiness, or something much darker. The shadow, what they're hiding. Jung's concept of the shadow is crucial for understanding dangerous people. The shadow contains everything we reject about ourselves. Our dark impulses, forbidden desires, unacceptable thoughts. Healthy people acknowledge their shadow, work with it, integrate it consciously. They admit their flaws, their capacity for selfishness or cruelty, and they make conscious choices about how to handle these impulses. The projected shadow. Dangerous people often project their shadow completely onto others. They see their own darkness in everyone else, but never in themselves. This creates several recognizable patterns. Constant blame. Nothing is ever their fault. They're always the victim. Someone else is always responsible for their problems. Moral superiority. They position themselves as more ethical, more pure, more enlightened than others, while engaging in exactly the behaviors they criticize. Scapegoating. They need someone to carry their shadow, to be the bad one so they can remain good. Paranoia. They assume others are plotting against them, lying to them, trying to harm them, because that's what they would do. The inflated shadow. Some dangerous people go the opposite direction. They embrace their darkness completely. They become inflated with it. They see their capacity for manipulation or cruelty as proof of their superiority. Signs of shadow inflation. They brag about their ability to manipulate others, or hint at it. They seem proud of having no conscience or being above morality. They enjoy others' pain or discomfort, even if they hide it. They see kindness and empathy as weakness to be exploited. They believe rules don't apply to them, that they're special or chosen. The anima and animus. Weaponized attraction. Jung's concepts of anima and animus explain how dangerous people weaponize attraction and connection. The anima is the feminine aspect in men's unconscious. The animus is the masculine aspect in women's unconscious. Healthy people integrate these aspects gradually through relationships, through inner work, through conscious development. Predatori anima animus projection. Dangerous people often have severely damaged or distorted anima and animus figures. This shows up in how they relate to the opposite sex or to authority figures. Damaged anima signs in men. They see women as either perfect angels or complete demons. No middle ground. They become obsessed with pure or innocent women, then try to corrupt them. They alternate between worship and hatred of the same woman. They can't maintain stable relationships, always searching for the perfect fantasy woman. They blame women for all their problems, or for the world's problems. Damaged animus signs in women. They're attracted to powerful men they can't have, or can't keep. They try to prove they're better than men, or that men are worthless. They use sexuality as a weapon to manipulate or control. They alternate between complete submission and total dominance. They can't relate to men as equals, only as superiors to worship or inferiors to control. The seduction pattern. Both male and female dangerous people often use seduction as a primary weapon. Not just sexual seduction, but psychological seduction, making others feel special, chosen, understood. The seduction cycle. Idealization phase. You're perfect, amazing, unlike anyone they've ever met. Devaluation phase. You start to disappoint them. You're not as special as they thought. Discard phase. They lose interest completely. Move on to the next target. Hoover phase. They try to suck you back in when they need something or when their new target isn't working out. The complexes. Autonomous psychological fragments. Jung discovered that trauma and emotional damage can create what he called complexes. These are like separate personalities within the main personality. They have their own memories, emotions, and agendas. Dangerous people often have severe complexes that have become autonomous. These complexes can take over their behavior, making them act in ways that seem completely out of character. The mother complex. Negative mother complex in men. They either idealize women impossibly or hate them completely. They're looking for a mother figure to take care of them, or they're trying to punish all women for their mother's failures. They can't form adult partnerships, only parent-child dynamics. Negative mother complex in women. They compete with other women constantly. Can't have female friends. They either reject their femininity completely or exaggerate it artificially. They sabotage other women or try to steal their partners, children, or success. The father complex. Negative father complex in men. They're either terrified of authority or they become tyrannical themselves. They can't handle criticism or being told what to do. They either rebel against everything, or they become rigid authoritarians. Negative father complex in women. They're either desperate for male approval, or they hate all men. They can't relate to their own power. They either give it away or abuse it. They're attracted to unavailable or inappropriate men, father figures they can't have. The missing conscience, recognizing psychopathy. Jung was one of the first psychologists to study what we now call psychopathy. He noticed that some people seem to lack basic human empathy and conscience. The emotional void. True psychopaths don't just hide their emotions. They often don't have them, at least not the way normal people do. They can mimic emotions perfectly, but they don't actually feel them. Signs of emotional void. Their emotional responses seem performed rather than genuine. They don't seem to learn from emotional experiences. They repeat the same mistakes. They don't show normal fear responses, even in genuinely dangerous situations. They seem curious about others' pain rather than disturbed by it. Their emotions are shallow and short-lived. They get over things too quickly. The predatory mindset. Jung noticed that dangerous people often see the world in predatory terms. There are hunters and prey, winners and losers, users and the used. They can't understand cooperation or mutual benefit. Every interaction is a zero-sum game. Predatory warning signs. They're always testing boundaries, seeing what they can get away with. They seem to enjoy making others uncomfortable or pushing limits. They collect information about others' weaknesses and vulnerabilities. They're drawn to people who are lonely, vulnerable, or in crisis. They have a history of taking advantage of others, though they always justify it. The integration test, how they handle their own darkness. Jung believed that psychological health required integrating all aspects of personality, including the dark aspects. How someone handles their own shadow reveals their character. Healthy integration signs. They can admit their flaws without defensiveness. They take responsibility for their mistakes and harm they've caused. They show genuine remorse when they hurt others. They work to change problematic patterns in themselves. They can laugh at themselves without cruelty. Dangerous integration failures. They never admit fault. Everything is someone else's responsibility. They show no genuine remorse, only anger at being caught. They repeat harmful patterns without learning or changing. They become enraged when confronted with their behavior. They turn every criticism into an attack on the critic. The relationship pattern, how they treat others. Jung observed that how people treat others reveals their true nature, especially how they treat people who can't benefit them. The exploitation pattern. Dangerous people see relationships as transactions. Other people exist to meet their needs, to provide something, to serve a function. Warning signs in relationships. They keep track of what they've done for others. Expect constant gratitude. They withdraw affection when others don't meet their expectations. They seem to have no friends, only people who owe them or can help them. Their relationships are either intensely close or completely distant. No normal friendships. People from their past seem reluctant to talk about them or speak in vague terms. The triangulation strategy. Many dangerous people use triangulation. They create conflict between others to maintain control. They play people against each other. They tell different stories to different people. They share confidential information to create drama. They position themselves as the reasonable one while others fight. They seem to enjoy the chaos they create, even if they deny causing it. Trusting your instincts. The body's warning system. Jung understood that the body often recognizes danger before the mind does. Our instinctive reactions carry important information. Physical warning signs. Your body tenses up around them for no clear reason. You feel drained after spending time with them. You have trouble sleeping after interactions with them. Your stomach feels uneasy when they're around. You feel like you're walking on eggshells in their presence. Emotional warning signs. You feel confused about their behavior. Things don't add up. You find yourself making excuses for them constantly. You feel like you're going crazy, like you can't trust your own perceptions. You feel guilty for questioning them, even when your concerns are valid. You feel isolated from others when you're involved with them. The recovery pattern. Can dangerous people change? Jung believed in the human capacity for growth and change. But he also recognized that some people are too damaged, too invested in their patterns, to change genuinely. Signs of genuine change. They take full responsibility for past harm, without defensiveness or blame. They make amends without expecting forgiveness or reward. They seek help from qualified professionals. Stick with treatment long term. They change their behavior consistently, not just when it benefits them. They respect others' boundaries, even when it's inconvenient for them. Signs of false change. They claim to have changed quickly, without doing real work. They blame their past behavior on circumstances, substances, mental illness, without taking responsibility. They expect immediate forgiveness and trust. Get angry when others remain cautious. Their changes only last as long as they're being watched, or as long as it benefits them. They use their recovery as another manipulation tool to gain sympathy or trust. Protection strategies. Jung's practical advice. Jung wasn't just interested in understanding dangerous people. He wanted to help others protect themselves. Boundary setting. Learn to say no without elaborate explanations. Don't share personal information too quickly with new people. Trust your discomfort. Don't override your instincts to be polite. Maintain connections with trusted friends and family. Don't let anyone isolate you. Keep your own interests and activities. Don't lose yourself in any relationship. Information management. Don't share your vulnerabilities, fears, or traumas with people you don't know well. Be careful about sharing your successes or resources. Some people see these as things to take. Notice if someone seems to be collecting information about you or asking too many personal questions. Watch how they handle information you do share. Do they use it against you later? Pay attention to how they talk about other people. That's how they'll eventually talk about you. Reality testing. Keep a journal of interactions. Patterns become clearer over time. Check your perceptions with trusted friends. Dangerous people try to make you doubt reality. Notice if your life becomes more dramatic or chaotic after someone enters it. Trust documented facts over smooth explanations. Actions over words. Remember that you don't have to prove someone is dangerous to protect yourself. The collective shadow. Dangerous groups and movements. Jung's insights apply not just to individuals, but to groups and movements. He lived through Nazi Germany. He saw how collective shadow projections could lead to massive evil. Recognizing dangerous groups. They have an us versus them mentality. They're always fighting enemies. They claim to have special knowledge or enlightenment that others lack. They discourage questioning or independent thinking. They demand loyalty and punish dissent. They justify harmful actions through ideology or higher purpose. Protecting yourself from collective manipulation. Maintain diverse relationships and information sources. Question groups that demand isolation from friends and family. Be suspicious of anyone who claims to have all the answers. Trust groups that encourage questions and individual thinking. Remember that healthy communities support your growth, not just their agenda. Final thoughts. The paradox of knowledge. Jung discovered a paradox about recognizing dangerous people. The more you understand these patterns, the more you realize how common they are. This knowledge can be overwhelming, even frightening. But Jung also believed that consciousness was the antidote to evil. When we understand how psychological manipulation works, we become less vulnerable to it. The goal isn't to become paranoid or suspicious of everyone. It's to develop discernment, the ability to recognize red flags, to trust your instincts, to protect yourself when necessary. Jung reminded us that the capacity for evil exists in everyone, including ourselves. But consciousness and choice make the difference. When we're aware of our own shadows, we're less likely to be manipulated by others. When we understand these patterns, we can choose healthier relationships and communities. The secret to recognizing dangerous people isn't about judging others. It's about protecting yourself and protecting those you love. By understanding how predators operate, how they think, and how they choose their targets. This knowledge is power. The power to say no, to walk away, to trust yourself, and to build relationships based on genuine respect and mutual growth rather than manipulation and control. Jung's message is both sobering and hopeful. Yes, dangerous people exist, but we don't have to be their victims. We can learn to recognize them, protect ourselves, and choose better, because understanding the darkness is the first step toward finding the light.